You may notice the titles have changed, but nothing else has, just the title. I'm still the nitpicking YouTuber you've all come to know and hate. Street Fighter, or as it's also called, Street Fighter: The Ultimate Battle, is a 1994 action film written and directed by Souza, based upon the Street Fighter video game series. It stars Jean-Claude and Raúl Juliá along with some many supporting casts. The film follows the efforts of Colonel Guile to bring down General M. Bison, the military dictator and drug kingpin of Shadaloo City, who aspires to conquer the world with an army of genetic super soldiers, while enlisting the aid of street fighters Raul and Ken to infiltrate Bison's empire and help it destroy it from within. Now, when the film was released, it did get a lot of mixed reviews, and it was especially negative towards the source material. So that's what I do, because that's what I do best, and I'm going to talk about 10 things that are wrong with Street Fighter. Number 10, video game. This is actually quite an ironic one, because this is a film based on a video game, and this film had a video game based on the film based on a video game. Confused? Well, you should be. So you would actually think the video game would actually be pretty good, because let's face it, the Street Fighter games are pretty good. No, this was appalling. It was absolutely appalling. It was done by taking digital photos of the actors doing the moves, and they didn't do it very well. Unfortunately, its competitors, Mortal Kombat, had been doing this for years, and it looked brilliant. But this, it didn't work very well, and it did not do anything for the film. In fact, this video game was appalling. So appalling, I don't think me and my friends ever actually got around to playing it, because we just took one look at the graphics and went, nah, you're alright. Number 9. World Warrior Tournament. So back in the 90s, video games didn't really have that much of a story. They weren't as in-depth and immersive as they are today. But they still had a basic plot. And the basic plot of Street Fighter 2, which this film is based on, was just following the adventures of people entering the World Warrior Tournament. Where the hell was that tournament in this film? The only plot point from the games has not followed onto the film. Why not? Did you play the games? No, you just took the characters and made your own story up, when you actually had something you could build on. Number 8. Shadaloo. So in the film, Shadaloo is a city that is being ruled by an iron fist by General M. Bison. But that's not what it was in the game. In fact, in the game, it was a shadow evil organisation. And yes, M. Bison was in charge of it, and he had his henchmen, which that part all came over into the film. But Shadaloo wasn't a city. It wasn't a country. It was a sinister, dark organisation. And they wanted to enter the tournament to get more power. No, you're not following anything from the game, really. Number 7. Kylie Minogue. So in this film, Kylie Minogue plays the British agent Cammy. And she does an okay job. It's not bad, it's not brilliant, it's just okay. Now, so why am I mentioning it? Well, when it was announced that Kylie Minogue was going to be in Street Fighter, it was massive news. And I mean, it was huge. And then I've done some research to find out how Kylie Minogue got cast in this film. It wasn't a case of they cast Kylie Minogue because she is this amazing, huge, multinational pop star. No, they cast her at the last minute because the Australian casting director wanted an Australian, and the only character they had left was Cammy. I think that's a bit of a disservice to Kylie Minogue, don't you think? Especially as Cammy is actually supposed to be British. Now, I don't have that much of an issue with that per se, except that you are having a hissy fit that you want an Australian in this film, and you cast the Australian as a British person. What the hell were you doing when you thought that doing this at the beginning, not right at the last possible moment? Number 6. Props. This film wasn't exactly a low budget film, it had a quite sizable budget. So one of the things you would expect them to have is decent props, which they don't, surprisingly. Now, I know that Jean-Claude Van Damme took 8 million of the £35 million budget, which took a massive chunk out of it, but still, I mean, there's 2 instances where on screen the props look like they're a joke. The first one, Chong-Li goes up to, I think it was either Ryu or Ken, with a knife, but one of them's out of position, so you can see them hitting him with the knife, and you see the knife bend. And then she's holding it in his back, and it's like, you know that's not working. Either reshoot it, or do some editing tricks to hide that fact if you are going to do that. But don't leave it in the screen, because it makes you look like a joke. But also, even later on, when Bison's hiding behind this perspex screen, which is supposed to be invulnerable, they're all banging it, and the entire set is shaking. I know that Jean-Claude Van Damme took a lot of the money, but still, some money towards the props, make it look a little bit more believable. You've made it look so cheap, it's unbelievable. Number 5, telling your plan. This is quite a common trope in Hollywood films. The bad guy has captured the good guy and tells the good guy all his plans. It's so common, it's unbelievable. Bizarrely enough, I've not done a film yet where I've brought it up. But that doesn't happen in this film. In fact, it's even worse. The good guy tells the bad guy their plans. Chun-Li set everything up to kill M. Bison while he's in the tent. All they had to do was let the van go, it was driven into the tent, bang, boom, film over, bad guy dead. So what do? Well, they leave a videotape saying, this is what I'm going to do. So you had the best opportunity and you gave the bad guy an opportunity to escape. That's a bad guy thing, not a good guy thing really, isn't it? Number 4, stealth mode. So in this film, they have this amazing, gorgeous looking high-tech boat. And I remember seeing it in the trailer and thinking, that looks awesome. And then when I watched the film, I realised how bad they have treated this boat. Stealth technology does not make your boat invisible. It makes it invisible to radar, but you can still see it, and you can still see it on video cameras. You cannot make the boat just disappear. I know the technology is sort of coming around now. It's not great, but it's still coming around now. So as soon as they realise something's going on and they turn the cameras on, you would have seen that boat straight away. Especially as it's firing, you would have seen the open up. That would have ruined the stealth technology. Bang. The boat itself was a joke, especially when you actually watch it, there's a massive gash in the paintwork along the side of the boat. Another reason the stealth wouldn't work. This is just really bad information here, especially as you had a film a couple of years later called Broken Arrow, which actually went in depth of how stealth bombers work. The same principle would have worked in the boat. In fact, they made a stealth boat in Tomorrow Never Dies for James Bond as well. Didn't make the boat invisible. In fact, this is the only time, to my knowledge, that stealth was classed as invisibility. Number 3, mines. Carrying on from the boat though, as they're approaching Bison's base and they realise that the boat's on their way, he starts releasing mines to try and get the boat. And he eventually does succeed, but after so many attempts. Why didn't you just release all the mines at the same time? You would have probably got it, but you weren't. You were releasing it when you thought the boat was going, so you missed. Every time, just release all the mines at the same time. You would have bound to get it, or you would have been able to get any closer. Bad guys are sometimes just so stupid. Number 2, muscle mass. So the main objective of this film is that Bison is trying to create these genetically enhanced soldiers, and he uses Blanca as a test subject. He uses mind-altering brainwashing and also all these chemicals to boost his muscle strength. And that's what they do. They stick it in, and all the computer says is muscle mass has grown, his muscle mass has grown. And when he gets out of the cage, his muscle mass is increased by 96%. So when he walks out of the machine, I'm expecting like a Hulk-like creature to walk out. No, it's just the actor with orange hair and painted green. He's exactly the same. His muscle mass has not increased. Why not? You should have had one actor for like pre and then a completely different actor for when he's coming out of the machines, like how they did in the 70s versions of the Incredible Hulk TV series. 2 different actors. It would have been brilliant. It would have been more realistic towards the game as well. But no, you're saying 96% muscle mass and he looks exactly the same. Number 1, post-credits scene. Before the film came out, the film actually had a post-credits scene. But due to the unfortunate death of Raúl Juliá, who played Bison, they decided to take the post-credit scene out of respect. And the scene went a bit like this. You actually, sun hitting the power, Solar Energy's charging his suit back up, his fist comes through, and he's still alive, and he's still having plans to save the world. Now, it's a brilliant post-credit scene, but they removed it from the theatrical version out of respect, and I have no issue with that. I thought that was a nice little touch. But then they added it back in for the home video release and TV releases and Blu-ray and DVD and all those other releases. They've put it back in. No, leave it out. In today's age, yes, put it in as an extra bonus scene, in as a extra feature on DVDs and Blu-rays, but not in the actual film itself. You've ruined the nice little touch you put of respect for Raúl Juliá, who was the saving grace of this film. Final thoughts. Strange enough, one of the things the creators wanted to do when making this film is they didn't want to what happened with Super Mario Bros., which came out a year earlier, happen to this film. So that was their goal, that was their aim, to make sure what happened didn't happen again. They failed so badly, the exact same problem that was with Super Mario Bros. Carried over to here. Now, if anyone's seen my review of Super Mario Bros., I actually said it's a good film, it's not a Super Mario Bros. Film, and that was its biggest flaw. And that's exactly what's happened here. This is a more child-friendly Jean-Claude Van Damme film with one-liners than it is a Street Fighter film. Yes, you've got all the characters, but you haven't got the story. And that's the biggest problem you've got with this film. You've got the characters, but not the story. You haven't got the essence of Street Fighter. It's in the name, Street. You're not fighting on the streets, you're fighting a war. And it didn't flow through, and that's what the appalling thing of this film was. Now, this is actually only the second time I've ever watched this film. Now, when I watched it when I was a kid, when it first came out, because I was excited to see it, I was so horrified and hated this film so much, I refused to watch it ever again. It's been 20 years since I've watched it a second time. Now, as an adult, I have a bit more of an understanding and appreciation of making films, and I can see where they were trying to go with, but it did fail. Same again, if you release this film, change the names and release this film that wasn't a Street Fighter film as a Jean-Claude Van Damme vessel, it probably would have done better and received a lot more. But because it's a Street Fighter film, it's not very good, which is a shame. It had potential that was lost. Other than that, there are some good things out of this film. I mean, the action fight scenes were actually pretty good. The casting was actually brilliant. The music for this film was actually also pretty good. There's a lot going for it. The cinematography was beautiful. Using Australia and Thailand as its backdrops were brilliant, and it worked. And yeah, there's a lot going for this film. It's just, once again, the Street Fighter element is what's letting this film down. So what am I going to rank this film? Because it's supposed to be about Street Fighter and that's what it's missing, I'm going to give it 6. 6 out of 10, because it does have potential, just wasted. But what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Put your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to read and hear all of them. But on to next week. Well, we've done the Street Fighter. Shall we do its competition next week? Very easy clue. And if anyone wants to take a guess, put it in the comments below and I'll pin the correct answer. But until then, take care. Bye-bye.